Hi, and welcome back to Love on the Brain, the podcast that helps you transform tough emotions into questions that serve you better. I'm your host, Kay Van Dunk, and I help independent women who are single, divorced, or widowed find their soulmates while staying true to their high standards. In each episode, we dive into a frustrating question that you may have about love. I'll share some insights, and then we'll reframe it with an affirmation or askformation to help lift your spirits. An affirmation is just a question framed in a positive way to help your brain search for solutions or at least shift your mindset. If your brain's going to be on repeat, might as well give it something helpful, right? If you haven't already, please subscribe and leave a great review on whichever platform you're listening to this podcast on. Your reviews help other amazing singles find the podcast too. Okay, let's jump in. Today's episode is a big one, and it hits me in the feels because it's one that I struggled with, and it's, why is it so hard for me to accept that I'm worthy of love? This question is so deeply personal because there's so many different reasons that you might not feel worthy of love. It could be some things that you've been told based on past relationships, people around you, maybe some underlying trauma that you have. It's a real struggle on your journey to finding love, and it's not one that we can fully unpack in a few minutes of a podcast, but we can at least take a step towards figuring out why it's blocking you and what you can do about it to think differently about it. It can be really hard to embrace that you are worthy of love, especially when there are things that hold you back, and especially when you are trying to attract a soulmate. It feels kind of counterintuitive to believe that you can attract a soulmate, but then not really feel like you're worthy of the love of a soulmate. But newsflash, you are. It kind of speaks to the imposter syndrome that affects a lot of us in our personal and professional lives, of feeling like you deep down know you have what it takes to accomplish something, but something is still holding you back, making you feel like you're not worthy. And the same thing comes into our love lives, right? Where you feel as though you haven't done enough work, or maybe you haven't uncovered your blocks and you shouldn't be looking for love. At the end of the day, a lot of those external influences are not really real. There's an old phrase that goes, certainty is not an indicator of the truth. And it's so powerful, because you might think that you're not worthy of love, but that doesn't make it true. We are all worthy of love because we are love. You give love to your friends, your family, maybe even your pets. So why wouldn't you be in turn worthy of receiving love from everyone around you, and especially from your soulmate? It makes no sense, but your brain has a way of being really nasty to you, especially if you're in a dry spell or you feel like you're not meeting that person that you can go the distance with. Now, if you have some really deep underlying issues about worthiness, I strongly suggest that you work on them. This is something that could really unlock a lot of other doors in your life, because I guarantee if you feel unworthy about love, you're probably also feeling unworthy about other things in your life. So there's an underlying theme that you need to deal with to get past that. But in getting past that, that doesn't mean that you can give up on searching for love until you figure that out, because that could take a while, and that is some shadow work that is worth it. And I can tell you from experience, it's something that I had to get past to move forward to finding my own soulmate. I guarantee you, if you were in a room of 100 independent, single, high-achieving women and asked them, do they feel worthy of love? You'd be surprised by the number of hands that don't go up. The number of women who can be a boss everywhere else in life and still feel like she's not worthy of attracting and receiving the love of her life. So we are going to shift the question of, why is it so hard for me to believe that I'm worthy of love, to one that's more loving and nurturing. So the affirmation we're going to be using is, why is it so easy for me to believe that I'm worthy of love? And yes, it's a word change, but it really can start shifting things. So again, repeat after me. Why is it so easy for me to believe that I am worthy of love? I am going to invite you, my darling, to reflect on how you view yourself and how that's showing up for you around what you're looking for in a soulmate and on this journey in general. You have to get into some really loving, nurturing practices that uplift who you are as you're trying to uncover all of that, because that is some deep work. That is some deep, deep work. So I suggest you focus in this time on self-compassion, forgiving yourself for past mistakes, or maybe even journaling about your feelings and finding what makes you lovable, what makes you deserving, what makes you an amazing soulmate for someone else. You're out there thinking to yourself, I take care of myself. I make sure that I pamper myself. I do the self-care. I'm journaling. I'm going to therapy. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to take care of myself. It's not just treating yourself well or knowing who you are, but knowing your value. Because if you truly knew your value, you would know that you are worthy of the deepest, truest soulmate love imaginable. Because I see it for you and I believe it for you. Before we close each podcast, I love to focus on gratitude because it's the highest vibration of all. So think of one thing you're grateful for in this moment. As always, I'm grateful that you tune into my podcast and love you for listening. Remember, when love is on the brain, asking better questions can lead to better results.